Yeah, I'm much better than I was last week, so that's that's good. I can actually speak and do other stuff now, so that's nice. But yeah, I'm better.
Oh, that's fantastic that you're better. My whole intro then made no noise for anyone, so they like you took it and answered the question anyway. It's all good. Do you know why my intro? It was a pretty good intro as well. Like it was adequate at the very least. We'll have to try and reuse the jokes a bit later on. That's fine. Nobody knows. So I updated the NVIDIA drivers and they wiped out all of my microphone settings on OBS. So I forgot to fix it. I am a professional prick. It's all good now though. You've had a little introduction from Luke. He's back with us, doing well. We've got in a cloud of smoke and vape, the Darge Knight. How you doing?
Yeah, I'm all right. I'm just coughing. But yeah, I'm all right. Thank you very much, Asa. Hope everyone in the chat's all right. Yeah, just everything's all right, mate. I've got really, that's my intro.
That's a fine intro. That's all we really needed. That's all we really needed, because now we can crack on with some talk about games and things, which is what we convene around the round table for. We do have a few topics today. Redo the intro. No, do you know what? Gaming with passion. I couldn't possibly redo the intro. You know, if you say something off the cuff and it's mildly amusing, and then someone says, "I'll repeat that," it just comes across really awkwardly. So we're just going to gloss over it and pretend it never happened, and carry on and talk about some games. Luke, you weren't here last week. You've had loads of time refreshing browsers trying to buy graphics cards, but have you managed to pick out some time to play some games?
Yeah, only one game really. Well, two, but mostly one. And the one game is Ninja Gaiden 2 Black, which obviously launched last week. I can't remember that my perception of time is completely gone. But yeah, so I've been playing that on PC. I played the original when it came out on the Xbox 360. I played all the Ninja Gaiden games, and it was a really awesome thing that this just shadow dropped and that they remade it in the first place. It's probably the best game in the series. And I've just been really enjoying it because it's such a throwback game. They've just slapped, high-end visuals on it and gone, well, it's not quite the original game. It's more based off of the PlayStation 3 version, which was Ninja Gaiden 2 Sigma. So there's stuff like the difficulty and the enemy placements and weapons and various other things have changed from the original 360 version. It's a bit easier as a result. because the original was brutal. But I'm really enjoying it. The PC port is it's on it's UE5, so it's a bit, it's all right.
Stutters.
Actually, funnily enough, stuttering is not very bad. The frame pacing is actually really good in the game. It's just that it's very demanding for something that doesn't look like it should be that demanding. It's a good-looking game, but it's not doing anything spectacular. And it has a ray tracing option, and you enable it, and literally, I cannot see a difference at all. But it just tanks the frame rate. It just cuts it by a third or more. And then the Game Pass version initially launched without DLSS, which is really annoying. So that it wasn't really a good thing to play originally on Game Pass. Now they've patched that in, which makes it a ton better. So I've been playing that, and like I said, it's just a throwback game. It's really nice because it's just a completely nonsense story. It's a character action game. You just go through, you just cut things up. It reminds me, it's a bit like the Doom Eternal of character action games. I was thinking this earlier because there's basically gory kills in it, and it's like this really fluid combat where you kind of move from spot to spot and kill things and finish them off, and then there's another thing you can finish off, and so on and so forth. And it's just a cool game. I'd really recommend people play it because it holds up. Apart from the camera, it holds up today. So
I haven't got around to it yet, and I definitely intend to. I mentioned last week when you weren't here that my memories of playing those games are a weird, fragmented dream of bits and pieces. But I have definitely played them, and it's just for some reason not stuck in my memory properly. So I've just got flashes of color and bad guys and things like that. Certain set pieces that I can't piece together. You mentioned there the DLSS wasn't in the Game Pass version, right? Which is on the one hand, that's a really minor point that people like to. It's a gripe that people pick and choose and gnaw at. On the other hand, this is a game that Microsoft are publishing that's not performing at its best on Microsoft's own store, and they are building themselves a reputation for their store being a state. So, what are they doing? Why is it there even on their own games?
I don't know. I think it's some build certification thing whereby the Game Pass stuff always seems like it's a patch or two behind wherever Steam launches. Sometimes they do. Sometimes when something does launch simultaneously on both, there is complete feature parity. But there's quite often the case like this, basically, where you've got a game that just is a Game Pass version. It's supposed to be not the definitive way to play, but at least equal to Steam, and it's not. And it just makes you feel a bit crap, really, because you just think, well, I might as well just buy this to get the full feature set somewhere else. So I don't know what they're playing at, but combined with just the experience of using the Xbox app generally, download speeds and all of this other stuff, it's just not a pleasant place to play PC games generally, which is quite bad considering they want people to play on Game Pass on PC. But they've really got to sort some of this stuff out because it's just not pleasant.
What, Darge? Have you played this one yet? I don't think you had started it when we talked last week. Are you going to?
I did. I think. Did I say I played it? I think I played it. Well, I have played it because I resubscribed to Game Pass. But yeah, I played it a bit. I spoke to Luke when he was ill about playing it. It's a great comparison to Doom Eternal, or Doom, rather, should we say, with the glory kills and stuff like that, and just sort of sheer, just fucking running through, just smashing everything. Yeah, I have played it when it shadow dropped, but I haven't gone back to it since. But I did enjoy it, and as far as the port and stuff like that, obviously Luke's a lot more. He knows his stuff, But I found it okay. DLSS isn't there. I know you did say, I didn't want to overcut when you said people like to chew on that, but yeah, it's not there. So, but I don't know if it's there now. I don't know if it's been put back in. It is.
Yeah.
Okay. yeah, I will get back to it. I enjoyed what I played of it, but I've just had a bit of a slack week.
You have a slack week. That's fair enough. We all have them every now and again. Not me. I work very, very hard all the time, 17 days a week. Even and everyone that's here with us, thank you for joining us as you do week in, week out. It's cool to see you all. Keep on sticking your questions in the Q&A box. Keep on talking in the chat to us, to each other, because it is a community event. So that's what we're here for. Let's talk about games that... So, Darge, you said you've had a slack week. How slack? Have you played anything?
I played a small amount of Kingdom Come Deliverance early in the week, which I'm still like, obviously, in the Discord, me and FTW, even though others are more than welcome to jump in there, we've just been sort of discussing our playthroughs and stuff like that. I spoke to Luke about it, and he said it didn't click with him at the start and stuff like that, which is fine, like, obviously. But I don't know, it's just something about that game that I'm just absolutely loving when I go into that world. You know, I'm really enjoying it. And the sequel's out next week. So yeah, but other than that, the only other game I've played this week is Cyberpunk's Benchmark. But other than that's about the strength of my gaming this week.
Okay, so I'm not going to ask you about the Cyberpunk Benchmark just yet, because we might talk a little bit about why you were doing that later on, but I am going to ask you about Kingdom Come Deliverance. So imagine that you're talking to someone that's never played that game before, which shouldn't be very difficult because I have never played that game before. So talk to me like you're talking to me, right? Kingdom Come Deliverance it presents itself as a kind of Witcher-like game. That's the expectation a lot of people had going into it, was that they've got this RPG and it's going to be like that. A lot of people, and Luke might be one of these, I'm not sure, but a lot of people bounce off of it because the combat and the structure of the game are not, like, they don't fit or fill that expectation. But talk me through the combat. Like, how do you fight people in Kingdom Come Deliverance?
In the traditional medieval style of swordplay. And I've, like, you know, I really like the medieval, like, sort of period of history anyway. So going into that, I've really enjoyed it. But when you do the basic sword, like, tutorial at the start before the game even fully gets going, it is a bit basic. But then you start getting, like, advanced sort of move sets, which sort of expand it a little bit more as far as I'm concerned. I mean, I think, like, for me personally, trying to sell it to someone, I think the world being in that setting is done really well for me, for someone who enjoys that medieval period and this, that, and the other. But it's the actual story, the way it starts out the game, the way you're introduced to the character, and very quickly it just grabbed my attention. And as of this moment, it's not slowed down. Like, you know, sometimes with games, like, I say it personally about Assassin's Creed and stuff like that, where you get juiced up and then you get going, and then it's like, I'll go and do a load of this just bullshit, and you go, oh, all right then, and then it sort of takes me out. Whereas with this game, I'm sort of just sticking with the main story, so to speak. So, like I say, you know, I haven't done a great deal. I've done enough combat in the game to sit here and say I'm not bored of it yet. I've got, like, my dodge mechanics and stuff like that in the game now. And the story's definitely still keeping me going. I'm in a new area, which is much bigger than the start. So, yeah, like I say, and apparently one of the common things that I see as far as Kingdom Come Deliverance is concerned is the side quests. So I'm trying to, because of the sequel, I'm trying to stay on the main story to a degree, you know, just to get through it. But I've heard the side quests in this game are amazing. So yeah, I just, like I say, I don't know how many hours I've got into the game at all yet, but I'm genuinely really enjoying it.
I'm a little bit lost because you mentioned that you've got swords, which is fine. There's a lot of games that have swords though, so that's still leaving it pretty open in terms of like mechanically how it is. And then you said that you have to dodge mechanics. So now I've got dodgeball in my head. Like, if you could dodge a wrench, you can dodge a medieval knight.
No, it's not. It's not like that. It's like, so there's, like, a lock. You can lock the enemy, like, lock the target, and then you can see by the way they hold the sword in kind of what way they're going to swing it. But it's not like I played a little bit of Chivalry, and that was like too much for me. Yeah, I didn't enjoy it. It's very like full on. Whereas in Kingdom Come, you'll have like you'll learn how they're going to swing the sword at you to a degree. And then if you sort of lean in a certain direction, you can sort of avoid the contact, counter, little things like that. Obviously, you've just got the standard block where you can just hold your weapon up and not take the damage, but it also creates openings. It's like I say, I'm probably like over egging the pudding, if you will, you know what I mean? But it's nice, you know, because when you start off with just learning how to stab and slash and block, once you unlock these sort of counter movements where you can sort of get an opening and sort of deal with them early. But like I say, it might not be for everyone, you know, but it ain't bored me yet.
Why did you hate it, Luke? What was your problem with it?
I just
stiff.
It's too stiff.
It's slow.
I think it's one because it's a bit slow, and even though I really like the medieval time period, I always like it in a fantasy context, not a realistic medieval period context. So there was just something about the setting that was very like, oh, to me. And like if it was like a documentary or something, I'd probably really enjoy it. But gaming, like I know we can't go and just inhibit the medieval period, but there's like an escapism element to gaming. And sometimes like I need it to be more than what Kingdom Come offers, basically.
Yeah,
that's all.
Yeah, I was going to say, and that's fine, because if you're looking for, you know, like the swordplay, you know, when we watch like a film and they're like fucking all like that, you know, whereas obviously realistically they're quite heavy, right? Yeah. You know, and obviously where I'm a fan of that period of history and stuff like that, a little bit more realism to it is more appealing to me, which is completely understandable. Right. You know, you either like it or you don't. Listen, we all know what I'm like anyway. I might put another 2 hours into it and go, nah, shit. Like, do you know what I mean? That's how I am. But as of right now, the story, the gameplay, the world and everything, I'm just really enjoying the game.
Good. I haven't played it at all. I know the second one is like getting a lot of attention for looking like something special. Some people adore first one for the way that it is just a life sim of a sort, a medieval life sim. So second one's got surprising amount of expectation for a sequel to a game that seems to have divided opinions. But now, why don't you ask me a question? I like being asked questions. It makes me feel all special and welcome.
What have you been playing this week?
Oh, good question, Darge. I haven't played any games this week. That's not true. I started Evil West with Demon Hunter on Thursday, which the Unreal Engine issues. If you want a case study for what it does badly and what it does well, you won't get what it does well out of that. It's competent, but the stutter every time you encounter something new, like, oh, there's an explosive barrel, I'm going to blow up the first one of those. Oh, it froze the game for like a second. Every subsequent explosion, no problem. But every new effect, every spell or whatever, you get this big hitch. And it's a weird old game. Have either of you played it?
Yeah, I played it.
I played it on Xbox when I had the console.
So at some point, this is relatively recent, because for the longest time it was on Xbox Game Pass, but if you tried to play it on the PC, it just offered to stream the console version. But at some point over the last literally like few weeks or so, they have released the PC version without telling anyone. So me and Demon Hunter downloaded it on there and got to play in it. And it's like a very second-rate Space Marine, because it's got quite a heavy melee focus. And you're quite powerful in it, but it never builds up to like this. I don't know. It's just the composition of it isn't have the same quality as that of Space Marine. So you go through and it's reasonably fun. You can punch stuff, but that's it. You're just punching stuff again and again, repeating the same 2 moves to infinity. And it introduces this this new power to dash around all electric-like, and you just become godlike for a moment. And that's what the game is. I think we're probably going to play it from start to finish, unlike Far Cry 6, which we tried last week, because it feels like it will be more contained. Like we'll just blast through it, and when it's done, and we'll move on to something else, which is absolutely fine. It's very garish in color, like notably when you're playing through it. Oh, my whole screen is red. Now my whole screen is yellow. Now my whole screen is blue. But not in a way that like the Ascent has all of these popping colors and contrast and looks gorgeous. This is just like someone's made it very red. But it's all right. That's one of the things I've been playing. Darge, thanks for asking.
Yeah, I didn't mind. I didn't mind Evil West. Like I didn't, I didn't finish it, but you know, like a comparison to a degree, like you're saying with Space Marine 2. I think, given my memories of both of them, even though Space Marine 2 is fairly recent, like Space Marine 2 was just so much better. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, I got.
So I totally get what you're saying.
Mm-hmm.
I got quite suckered into buying it because it was all across. I remember it was across my. I'd seen it before it came out and thought, oh, that looks quite interesting. You know, kind of a throwback game. And then people were saying, oh, this is really good. Like, this is so underrated, you know, when it came out. And I saw clips and I was like, oh, okay. And then I picked it up and I played it for, I think, an hour, 2 hours. And I was like, no, this is not underrated. This is overrated by my Twitter feed, I think. It's like, it's fun, like very competent, as you said, Asa, but it's not much else.
Yeah, and it's got this stylistic thing, like the whole cowboys versus demons and vampires is kind of cool, but it's stitched together with some freaking awful voice acting, which is like watching along the cutscenes going, I'm not sure what accent you're going for, but it appears to be multiple. Nice try. But it's all right. It's simple fun. You can switch off and play it and have a blast and talk to people while you're doing it. So, yeah, not unhappy with it. And I've been playing. What did we play yesterday? That skiing game some more. Downhill, Lonely Mountains, whatever it's called, you know, the Game Pass one. Which is surprisingly consistently entertaining. Even though half the people in the Discord have... we played it last week on the Community Games thing. And obviously I was brilliant on one most of the time and they didn't like that. So they played it every night for the entire week. Only to get beaten again. I'm just making
Did I see you play Minecraft as well?
You did see me play Minecraft, yeah. I played Minecraft on Tuesday, doing some of the more recent features in there. Well, that was the idea. They had some... I can't even think of the term. It's supposed to be like trying to capitalize on what people like about roguelites and stuff like that. There's like trial dungeons in there. And we managed to break into one and die. So I don't actually know if those are good, bad, or indifferent because I'm terrible at that game. Trial Chamber, that's the one. Thank you, Isla. Yeah, we did a little bit of that. Or we attempted a little bit of that, but did not get anywhere. I think I probably died in the snow rather than even to the enemies. Just like harsh environment for me. Cold feet, fell over dead. That's my skill level. Anyway, that's what I've been playing. I've not played much of my Final Fantasy 16, much as I still enjoy it because I've been busy doing Discordy, YouTubey things, but there will be more of that. There is so much that I want to play at the moment. It's so frustrating not having time to get to it. But let's talk about the hardware that we use to play these games because, look, on one of them days this week, it's like one of them days that's behind us, I can't remember what they're all called, but one of the days last week, NVIDIA released the RTX 5090 and 5080, and you had an experience of trying to acquire one for yourself, did you not?
I did. It wasn't a good experience, but I had an experience of it. But I guess that was somewhat foretold by the GPU elders that this would not be a plentiful launch, and it was not a plentiful launch at all. In fact, it was as kind of a polar opposite to that as possible, really. There were very, very, very few units. Some of the biggest websites in the UK, for example, had single digits for the 5090. They had a lot more for the 5080, but still not tons.
Enough, though. You still get that one, did
enough.
You know?
Yeah, it was not really fun, which was to be expected. You know, most places weren't even taking pre-orders for the cards, they were just putting them up, and then once they're gone, they're basically gone until they get some more stock, and then they'll put them up again. So it's just a bit of a free-for-all. There was one place in the UK, very thankfully, which did allow pre-orders. I think they've stopped pre-orders now, probably because it's got too many. But I managed to pre-order my card there, and I'm only 82nd in that queue. So for that one card, so I'll probably expect that, fiscal year 28, something like that. I'll probably get it at this rate. So yeah, not fun, and I just don't really understand why they bothered to launch if they only had minimal stock.
It's not just that they've got minimal, because if you follow like Overclockers is one that has quite a forum, and the people running that store will talk to people about what's going on with stock levels and when they think you can get more. And the thing going around is they're saying like, there's hardly any stock right now, but also they've released it right ahead of Chinese New Year, which is going to impact the restocking. So don't expect any more to come in anytime soon. So it just begs the question, like, okay, we knew that there was going to be a Chinese New Year coming. NVIDIA knew that there was going to be a Chinese New Year coming. They know how it impacts their supply lines. So why not pick a different date?
There was a speculation around the tariffs thing, wasn't it, with the US and stuff like that. That's why they were trying to just force these out, triple lively, I think, before all that shit came into light. But like Luke was saying now, I think some of the channels that I've been attention to as well, I think Gamers Nexus did a video where they estimated there was somewhere like 200. I don't know if that was, I think that was in the US. I think they said they worked out that there was like 230 or 240 5090s in the whole country, or saying with the main. That's regardless. I think they're just literally to buy the card as opposed to the actual, the builders. Like, obviously, they'll get so many to them to build systems with. I think just to actually purchase the card, I think they were saying like Best Buys, they had like stock listing and inventory, and the 5090 is basically not a unicorn, but it's probably as close as you're going to get, right? And then obviously, like you mentioned about the Chinese New Year and the NVIDIA factories basically shut like now, nothing really going on there. So like April, May is when people expect them to be more available. So yeah, it's just, they whipped up a bit of a frenzy and didn't deliver much. So yeah, I think I'll be sticking with what I got for now.
Mm-hmm. Okay, good. Plenty of 5080s in stock though, which surprised me, because running into it, there was an expectation that those would all go as well. But you can literally pop on the internet and get one of those today. Like a few days after launch.
Did anyone find out at all? Because obviously, all I've been seeing about is 5080s more available, 5090s like virtually non-existent. But I haven't seen anything regarding the 5070. Did that come out, or is that later? Not? It's coming later. Yeah. Oh, okay, that makes sense then. Oh, Replicant saying there as well. One of the videos I watched as well, I think it was actually a UK vendor as well. There's a screen capture of the card for 900. So say if it was a 58 or whatever, when you then went through the bot, the bot checker to check that you're a human, when you come back to the page, the price had gone up by about another 150 quid or something like that. It's just really like Rep saying there in the chat that the prices have increased since launch. Yeah, it's just a bit of a shit show launch, really.
Those bot checkers are the primary reason I didn't try and get one. I can never pass those. They can see right through. Right. Oh, that's NVIDIA. It's not the only thing NVIDIA have done, right? Because they also put out a driver as well. So for those people that didn't get a 50 series card, you got some new bells and whistles and treats to play with, which might be why you were on your Cyberpunk benchmark, Darge, was it?
Yeah, it was. I was just winging it, but I weren't getting what I wanted. At one point, I was saying to Luke, when I sent you a photo saying I had FrameGen selected, run the benchmark, and it was just like, high 30s, low 40s. I was like, what? And then in the end results, it was saying FrameGen not on. And I was like, why is this not working? And it turned out when I rebooted the game, it'd work. But yeah, I didn't really. I was just sort of pissing about with a benchmark to a degree, and I weren't getting anything remotely interesting out of the benchmark, you know. So yeah, I don't know. I'll maybe with a restart of the system and try again or something. I don't know. I was just winging it basically, but I don't know. Have any of you, Luke, your 40 series cards? Have either of you done the new driver updates and seen anything?
Well, I downloaded the driver update. I'm going to briefly interrupt and say thank you very much, Gunstar, for the super chat, the special chow mein or special fried rice, whichever one doesn't have prawns in it. The special is a dubious word. For me,
they both do, I think.
Well, that's the issue. Like, I don't do seafood, so neither would be my choice. If you took the prawns out, then both. Out of both, I like both. Give me both. What about you two? Nope, they don't care for it. Either. They don't want. Yeah.
Just either one. Yeah, I'm a big seafood fan, so
yeah,
I've prawns in there as well.
I had some prawns, chili prawns at Pizza Express this evening.
Lovely.
All right. Lovely. Fucking lovely. Disgusting. Shout out to Harry Go Locky as well in the chat. He's comparing me to Lex Luthor and Jason Statham. So I like him. He can stick around. Stick around, mate.
Thank you, Harry, for pleasing Darge. RTX stuff. So I downloaded the drivers, right? Just to get back to the point that I derailed midway through. And that's the reason that I was muted at the start of this podcast. It's a terrible error on my part. Should have checked things out properly. I've not had a chance to look at any of the new features and stuff like that. Chronic was telling me that you can now override dodgy versions of DLSS. So that's a technology that's advanced quite rapidly over the last couple of years, which means if you play a game from a couple of years ago and they didn't update it with the times, you can probably get some fairly significant improvements on that one. Might have a little play with that when I got time. Luke, have you also... I know you were doing this before we even got the stuff out. You were on the Cyberpunk doing the new models of shit and whatever. Yeah. Is it exciting? Should people with a 40 series be excited to download a driver? Is that what the world has come to?
Depends on how into it you are, I suppose. I mean, I was pretty excited, but I don't know what that says about me. I think it's, I mean, it's DLSS 4, which is coming to 40 series, 30 series, I think maybe 20 series to some extent. It basically replaces the DLSS model from CNN was the old model to a transformer model, which is what all the AI stuff is using these days. And the result is that, I mean, I've tested it in Cyberpunk and I had a brief look on Black Myth Wukong and on some other stuff, but I can't remember what, but those were the main ones. And it gives you, it definitely makes a big improvement to image quality, is what I would say. Cyberpunk is probably the best example of this, where the only way I could kind of describe it is if you use like DLSS performance or balanced now in that game with the transformer model, it looks similar, maybe a bit better than the quality mode did back when. So, and that obviously means you get more performance as well, because you can drop stuff down to balanced and still be getting a quality image effectively. So it's really good for that. It's obviously really good for frame gen as well. DLSS 4 kind of had its improvements to super resolution, frame gen, and ray reconstruction. Annoyingly, only some games are supporting some elements of those at the minute. So, for example, Cyberpunk, that supports everything. So ray reconstruction as well and frame gen. So you get the kind of complete experience of that, and it's quite transformative for image quality. But like Wukong only supports super resolution, so it's using old frame gen, and I don't even know if it uses ray reconstruction. I don't think it does. So again, that it does improve the image and it looks better. But the reason it's still in beta, apparently, DLSS 4. So that's why you have to override it in the app and hope that games patch it in. The one game I do want to try out, which also includes all of this and this RTX mega geometry stuff, is Alan Wake 2, which has been updated. But the update's like 32 gigs. So I just couldn't be bothered to download that the other day. But I will pick that up. And
it's light work.
Yeah,
might work for you and your city broadband. Fuck you. So, I mean, some people might think that PC driver updates are a fairly dry topic, but it's got more to do with games than quarterly fiscal results. Fuck you all. We're not doing that.
They'll come later.
Will it? Will it? We'll see.
It'll be a dedicated podcast.
Let's talk about a game. Let's talk about. It's another topic of limited interest, but Forza Horizon 5 has made some. Yeah, well, it's a hell of a game if you like that kind of thing, but it's made the news this week because they've announced that it is coming to. Have they only announced the PlayStation, or have they announced the Switch 2 as well?
Well, I don't think there's been any Switch 2 announcements at all yet. But
I'm actually 100% aware of that. I was just playing to see.
Okay.
But it's coming to at least PlayStation 5, right? Possibly other platforms as well. And it's coming in spring. Some people are running around like the pants are on fire because they thought Forza was one of these holy trinity of games that would never go to other platforms. But it is. Darge, are your pants on fire?
Yeah, my pants are a little bit on fire. But, you know, after listening to a few other people this week, apparently this is the year where the unthinkable is going to happen, right? So, yeah, like Forza, Gears, Halo, the Holy Trinity, you know. Xbox are obviously the only platform holder doing this right now. So yeah, it is a little bit weird, but then apparently the promise is that others will be doing the same, apparently, and it's going to be all right. And you know, the more I think about it, Xbox have had to do something because they're in last place, technically. You know, their hardware. I know you don't want to talk about fiscals and this, that, and the other, but the hardware's down again. The hardware's just not shifting, so they're having to send their games elsewhere. You know, and you know, I come from a place where the exclusives mattered, but I know that that's becoming a narrative that's not holding much water anymore, especially on the Xbox side of things. So yeah, you know, apparently this is going to be a crazy year. That's all I'm hearing. Crazy year. So look, if you start seeing God of War on an Xbox, maybe it makes sense. You know, if you start seeing The Last of Us going elsewhere, maybe it'll make sense. But right now, I don't know. I don't know. It just feels a bit weird. You know what I mean? Because it's the first one to do it. You know, I know that even if it's Halo, you know, Master Chief and stuff like that, it's archaic. I know, like, a lot of the Xbox community went from that narrative of, oh, we've got all these exclusives now that they've bought. We've got all the exclusives, and then very quickly they've flipped over to this. Oh, everyone gets to play. You know, we all win now, and we get an extra 70% of the cut. You know, but at the end of the day, it's weird as far as I'm concerned to see. But I'm being reassured that apparently by the year's end, it'll be a more common thing. But I don't know. We'll have to see what happens. What do you reckon?
Luke.
It is weird. It's still a bit novel to see the words Forza and PlayStation because it's such a Xbox synonymous franchise, isn't it? One of the big three, really. It's not weird from a product perspective, I guess, because that game's been out for a long time, and they've updated it quite a lot since it released as well. And it seems like a game that really there's no equivalent on PlayStation, so it seems like a good game to put on. Obviously, it's, you know, not a sim racer, Horizon, like GT7, so it's kind of complementary to that game. So I think it'll do really well, but obviously I think because it'll do really well, that will even further embolden Microsoft to start putting more stuff, you know, bigger stuff on there. We've already heard lots of rumors about classic Gears games and Halo games, and I fully expect those to go across as well, and that then paves the way for, I suppose, future installments of those games to hit PlayStation and other platforms as well. I expect many of these will go to Switch too. I'm kind of softening on it all a bit because I just like the direction of travel is very clear, and I don't really I don't care as long as we still get lots of good stuff from Microsoft. And ultimately, I think if the year goes in terms of Microsoft releases how we expect it to go, and maybe something extra like Gears E-Day, nobody's going to look back, or maybe very few people will look back and go, "Oh yeah, but Horizon 5 coming to PlayStation, that was a bad move, wasn't it?" Everybody would just be talking about, the fact that they've released like these lots of really, really big games in the year that are hopefully very high quality. And as long as they keep doing that, do I care? No. The only caveat to that I would say is I don't care because, the hardware isn't, the Xbox hardware isn't really a factor for me, because I'd play anything on PC anyway. Maybe going forward that will change in the not the medium term but the longer term. But I don't know. But it is still weird to see. I don't know, Asa. What do you think? I mean, it's probably not weird at all for you, is it?
No.
It's weird in that it's not. I don't really care. It's difficult to care, and like the three of us are playing from the perspective of people that already play these games on a PC, right? And it's a thing that is worth acknowledging, because there are people that only play on an Xbox and they have a different perspective as to whether this is important and whether it is not. Because for us, it's already a multi-platform game. We're already playing on a platform that's not an Xbox. You can play it on Steam if you want. It's absolutely fine. I don't think anybody actually loses anything from this game going to other platforms, apart from, you can say Microsoft doing it might harm their console vision going forwards, but I don't really give a fuck about that. That's something where I try and empathize with the people that do give a fuck about that. I don't fully understand why they do, but I try and understand their perspective at least a little bit. More importantly for me, Forza Horizon 5 doesn't support VR, so I don't like it, and also it doesn't work, so I don't like it. Last time we tried to play Forza Horizon 5, it's such a brilliant game.
How could we forget?
It's the best racing game, apart from the fact that it doesn't support VR. I'm not expecting them to support VR because I know where that technology is. It's not a surprise to me. I'm not an idiot, but I did expect it to work, because we tried to play it on our community games, not the one that's gone, but the week before. We opened with Forza Horizon 5. Everybody's got that. It's on Game Pass. People love it. It's a quality racing game. We'll get some people in there. We'll play some Forza Horizon 5. So we jump in a convoy, go to do a race. Every time we play Forza Horizon 5, at least one person doesn't get into the race, right? It just starts the race, puts everyone in there, and kicks someone out of the convoy without fail. And on this occasion, it was my turn. So I was streaming the community games, and everyone gets into a race, and it just kicks me out and leaves me driving around Mexico. Like, thanks, Forza, that's brilliant. So stick it on a PlayStation if you want. I don't care. Just make the damn thing work so that when I'm trying to play it, I can play it, and then I'm happy. Not as happy as if they put VR in it. I don't care about Microsoft strategy that much. There was a lot of talk this week as well. I'm not going to go into the fiscal stuff because I really don't give a fuck about the fiscal stuff. But there was talk about Microsoft being the biggest publisher across all of gaming for the previous month, right? That was what went around, and it was based purely on revenue. And it has some people celebrating and some people arguing and all that kind of stuff. And it's like, that's not an interesting statistic. They bought Activision Blizzard King. I love what Microsoft are doing right now with the way that they are trusting their developers to make an interesting array of games, right? We've talked about that last week. We talked about that the week before as well, I think. That is their biggest strength, and the reason that I like them being in this industry at the moment is that they let their studios make things. They might be divisive, they might not be the most popular things, and they still support and embrace and let them build these. And I love that about them and want that to carry on for as long as possible. But for them to be the biggest publisher based on revenue, because they've consolidated a lot of revenue into one place, is the least interesting statistic I can think of. It's not reflective of anything that they're actually doing in the space apart from buying ABK. Right? I don't care about their strategy. I just want them to keep making games, and this is going to hopefully allow them to keep doing that. If it all works out, they'll keep the people that have been responsible for this direction. So old Phil Spencer, who's been there for like a decade now. It'll let them stay in place. It will let them keep supporting studios in the way that I want them to before they go too corporate and turn it all into Candy Crush. Yeah, I'm all right with it. Darge, do you play Forza Horizon 5?
I played it. I played it when it came out. I enjoyed it. It was better than the British one.
It was.
Yeah, you know, when you're British, you don't want to be in Britain. Like, I don't. Send me to Mexico or fucking anywhere else. Yeah, Forza Horizon's great. You know, I prefer motorsport personally. I always have, like the track racing. But yeah, it's great. It's great at what it does, you know. And I you know, like I said in a bit before, like it feels weird because of that whole holy trinity and exclusives matter and blah 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 blah. And I know that's not happening anymore. But yeah, they're great games. And like you say, PlayStation. I mean, obviously, I haven't played GT Sport, but I know the comparisons get made and this, that, and the other, and it probably will do well over there.
Well, they've got the crew, Darge. They've got the crew.
Yeah, I know. Don't forget the crew. But like, I think it'll do well. You know, they're great games. Obviously, Playground got acquired for a reason, right? And I think we're all really looking forward to Fable for a reason, right? Because they're good at what they do. So yeah, I think they're great games. And just on the other point as well about apparently they're the biggest revenue publisher going. Who's surprised at that? You know, everything's an Xbox.
They bought Activision Blizzard King.
Yeah, but weren't people paying attention? Everything's an Xbox these days. So, you know,
that's the thing. But, that's what I say about it. Like when people are like, "Oh, this strategy's working. This strategy is not working." It's got nothing to do with that strategy at the moment. Almost like apart from the fact that Microsoft are making their decisions based on this strategy, their revenue is not coming from that. Their revenue is coming from the fact that they bought ABK, so they've just consolidated a lot of big revenue.
Well, there was a thing that was going around that Sony was saying that there was a report, wasn't there, a while back saying that the money that Sony were making from Call of Duty microtransactions and shit like that and battle passes and stuff like that was financing the PS4 generation of games and stuff like that. So now, technically, for Microsoft, where they own, so they're getting, you know, that 70% or whatever the fucking percentages are of every microtransaction on any platform, should be reinvested. Obviously, there's a topic we're going to talk on about hiring, you know, and making studios bigger, and we say about them allowing these teams to go and make the games they want to make. Sorry. So yeah, the future's bright. But yeah, I just still think it's weird. But it's just me and my old console warrior head.
Fair enough, Luke. Anything to add on that before we move on to whatever else you want to talk about?
I bet the adaptive triggers on the DualSense will be nice for Horizon 5. Maybe then they'll cross-port that to PC controller support. You better do that because I'd buzz off that. So
yeah, make
it happen. Playground.
That's a nice idea for the DualSense because you know it's got that power to let you feel the rain in your hands. So
yeah, that's
drive through a storm in Forza and be like, oh, I'm wet, right? I don't much care. That's the dream. That's the dream. Coming soon to a console near you. Let's talk about Dragon Age, shall we? That was on the list. I don't care. Dodge. You put this on the list.
I think Luke did.
Oh, Luke.
Yeah.
You put this on the list. So Dragon Age, the news around it. Obviously, last week we had news that Dragon Age had like less than 50% of the player engagement that EA were counting on going into it and budgeting for it and all the rest of it. The news that followed that was quite cynically actually from EA. They put out some news saying that they were restructuring their studios around BioWare to focus on Mass Effect or whatever it was. What they didn't say in their press release was the usual, we're very sorry we had to let some people go, we're trying our best to look after them and blah, 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 blah. They just didn't mention that until it started coming out through other channels on social media from the people that were impacted and were let go. But actually this restructuring has obviously seen a number of people lose their jobs as well. What's happening at BioWare?
Yeah, it's really strange because they I think before this Mark Darrow, who's the creative lead on the next Mass Effect, he kind of let this slip before EA actually announced it. And he basically said in response to someone, "Oh, Mass Effect, it doesn't need the full Veilguard team at the minute." And so it doesn't have the full Veilguard team. And then obviously this came out that EA had sort of restructured BioWare a little bit, which is some people will let go. I don't think lots apparently will let go. Some people were. But other people were moved from BioWare to like other teams in EA. And they were told that basically, well, you know, the studio, because BioWare aren't going into full production with Mass Effect yet, you don't need to be there. And actually, you know, we could use you on this project over here. So I think a lot of these people went, okay, fine, that sounds good. You know, I can keep working and you know, I can come up with new skills and take those over to the Mass Effect project. And then apparently, so this was apparently weeks or months ago now. And then apparently when EA dropped this news last week, they actually told the people that they'd moved that those were permanent moves now. So they're not going back to BioWare, and that they'd have to reapply in the future if they want to come back to BioWare. So it's like a downsizing of the studio for the like snakiest method that I've ever seen. Like the most opaque method of trying to get people out I've seen. So I really don't like that. It's worrying for BioWare as a studio, obviously, that Veilguard was not the commercial success they wanted. Some of that's not surprising, not because the quality of the game isn't there, because I think the game is good, but more just because Dragon Age was never like the huge commercial success franchise of BioWare. And that game started off as a service game many moons ago, and they've had to pivot development, which has meant longer development time for it, and all this sort of stuff has come out of it. So it's a bit worrying that they've teased Mass Effect so many times, and that we're not even in production of the game. We're still in pre-production. So realistically, I mean, you know, it might come out by 2028, 29, 30, something like that. So, and that assumes that obviously it goes well and that they staff up as it ramps up in production. So it's just a really frustrating story, I think. And I just want BioWare to be okay, but they're kind of going against that grain. And I think next Mass Effect is pretty much their last chance, I think, to make something commercially successful. And I think if that doesn't land, then they'll just close the studio.
Yeah, so Mass Effect is the question though, because obviously, putting aside the restructuring and what's happened to the personnel, just as a project, with EA having these set expectations for Dragon Age that are inflated and missing them by so much, EA are going to be looking at the response to it, where their money's coming from and all the rest of it, and it's surely going to impact the direction that they take Mass Effect, right? The people at the top wearing their suits and boots are going to come in and say, you need to head in this direction for Mass Effect to make it a commercial success. What do you think, like speculatively having played it, what do you think is going to be like the takeaway at EA for how to fix BioWare?
I don't know really. It's quite difficult because if you look at Veilguard as a project, I mean, it's not too dissimilar from other Dragon Age games. It's not the same, but it's not as if they went, okay, we're going in a completely new direction. Now, there are things like you only play as one character, right? And you can't play as members of your party, and that's different. But they were doing that back in Mass Effect 1, Mass Effect 2, Mass Effect 3. You know, that's the thing that BioWare have done before. It's a very BioWare game, Veilguard, like from structure to everything, really. So I don't really know what they'll take away as, okay, this is how we make Mass Effect better than that. Maybe maybe trying to get back to the kind of scope and vision of the original trilogy of Mass Effects in some way, but mechanically I don't know, and I don't know quite how they'll want the studio to approach it, because I think the best way to approach it is to just look at the original trilogy and try and deliver a modern day version of one of those games, but obviously, you know, maybe a bit grander scope and big visual uplift and all that sort of stuff. It's very difficult for them. It's just difficult, and it's difficult because having AAA RPGs out there is not a guarantee of success like it was 15 years ago. You know, if you had those games back then, you're pretty much guaranteed to make money on them. Now, not so much. So I don't know. It's a bit depressing, really.
It's a really hard question. Like, I know it's a really hard question, but the reason that I ask, and the reason that it's kind of interesting, is because it does ripple through like the industry as a whole. Is EA with BioWare have always meddled and always pushed them in the direction of whatever is popular in the industry, whatever trend they are chasing. So when they introduced like the multiplayer to Mass Effect 3, it was in line with what was making money at the time. And obviously they pushed them to make Anthem when Destiny was at its peak. And then EA as a whole, they had this little resurgence of single player games when they let us have a Titanfall campaign, and they let us have that the space game. What's the space game called? You know, the one with the
Dead Space.
Dead Space. They let us have a Dead Space, and they looked like they were kind of course corrected in a direction that suits us. And then they said, we're not having any more Dead Space. Dragon Age has underperformed. Like, what is next for EA? Darge, what do you think? If you're be as cynical as you want, what is an EA executive going to chase next?
Do you know what? Fuck knows, really, because as we discussed with gorgeous JT last week, who stood in for Luke, EA have always sort of relied on FIFA for a start, and even that's disappointing them and their internal metrics. Dragon Age has disappointed their internal metrics. Obviously, they got that Iron Man game in development. So, you know, half in the studio of BioWare, it's not a good look, is it? Really? And especially, like Luke said, doing it in that slippery, just pop over there for a bit. Oh, no, you'll stand there. Like, you're not going back to the other team. Half in that studio for Mass Effect fans is a bit alarming. Like Luke speculated there, 28, 29, 30, when that game's going to eventually come, and they've already had like a little teaser for it and stuff like that. EA are in a bit of a shit show at the minute, as far as I can see it. I mean, obviously DICE are they working on the next Battlefield?
They are, yeah, with Vince Zampella at the head of it, right?
So it feels like, like with Ubisoft, where there's sort of that common consensus now that quite a lot's riding on Assassin's Creed Shadows with them, even though they're looking at like being acquired and stuff like that. I'm not saying EA are in that position just yet, but it's getting to that sort of desperation state, so it'd be really interesting to see what happens with them.
Well, do you know what else is going to be really interesting? Games in February. There's loads of them. And what? One or two? Name them, but you can't. One game in February. Go for it.
Don't know.
Bam. Darge, save him. He doesn't know any games in February.
Avowed.
Yep, that's a game in February.
Civilization 7. I said that with about a load of Z's in it. Let's just say the mic was playing up there. Civilization 7.
Yeah, there are. I'm being facetious. There's loads of games. Luke's just playing around. He knows that there's loads of games as well. Luke, pick one that you want to talk about that you're looking forward to right now.
Well, I mean, it's the easy one, but it is one I'm really looking forward to, like right now, which is Avowed. Which I know you're looking forward to a lot as well. And just the more I see this game, the more excited I get. It's kind of one where the reveal, I was kind of like, apart from it being Obsidian, I was just kind of, it looks fine. And the more and more I've seen of it, I'm like, oh yeah, this looks really good actually. It's had a massive visual uplift as well. Like the amount of polish that's gone into this game, it's been really impressive. And I really feel like playing an RPG, which isn't an open world RPG, which is a bit more of a throwback thing. which isn't going to suck away 7,000 hours. So it looks cool. It looks really, really cool.
Tell me a little bit about the Pillars games, but Obsidian in general as a studio. You're a fan of Obsidian. What do you play of theirs?
Well, funnily enough, one of the only things I don't like from Obsidian is New Vegas. Pretty much everything else I really liked, but that's because I'm not a big fan of Fallout. I know. It's right, just mate. Good, yeah. But I think they're just they're a very good studio at having a really defined scope for a game that's never too it's never too ridiculous, never too dramatic. It's too superficial or anything like that. They just really nail. They're really good at what they do, which is just RPGs basically that have really great companions, pretty decent combat systems, and then cool stories where you can actually make a difference in them. That's what they're really good at, and this just looks like one of those. I wasn't a huge fan of the Outer Worlds, but again, that was not because I didn't think the game was good. It was more the setting I really didn't like or jive too much with the setting on that one, because it kind of reminded me of Fallout, but a bit peppier. So I just can't get on board with that. And
what is your problem with Fallout?
I don't know. I just don't like it. It's too brown. It's too brown. Everything's so brown.
No. Answer rejected, because the Outer Worlds is not brown and you still don't like it for being like Fallout. So there's something else here.
There's some yellow in it as well sometimes, but I don't know what it is. It's just maybe it's because I think partially it's because when there's FPS combat in RPG games and Bethesda or Obsidian do it, it's just not very good. It's not very good at all. So I think there's a mixture of that and setting where I don't get along with it, which is why I'm looking forward to Avowed, because the fantasy stuff I'm way more into in terms of like fantasy FPS stuff, not first person stuff, but first person viewpoint stuff that are RPGs I really dig. So that's Avowed is exciting, and obviously having played the Pillars games, it's exciting to go back to that world, even if it looks obviously very different in terms of viewpoint and fidelity and all that stuff, because it's a really, really interesting world to be in, and it's got some novel fantasy ideas, so we'll see if they come to pass in this game as well.
I've never particularly got into Fallout either, because it is very brown, and post-apocalypse has not been my favorite setting. It's been on my to-do list to try and play more Fallout and see why people love it so much, particularly Fallout 3 and New Vegas, that you specifically said you don't like them. But I really enjoyed the Outer Worlds for like the reasons that you outlined around Avowed, in that it is it's not an open world, it is a tighter RPG. It is like you said, the combat wasn't a feature, and the difficulty was out of control in that it became something you could very easily steamroll after a few hours. There's a few difficulty spikes at the start and a few places where you could go and die, but as soon as you started picking up some gear, it became comically easy. But it's just got such good character writing that all the side quests and things you could do were fun, and I liked the tone of the game. And that's what I want from Avowed. It's Skyrim with the Outer Worlds tone and with Obsidian's tone. And obviously it's not Skyrim. It's almost disrespectful to say. It's not disrespectful. I don't know what I'm talking about. It's a different game. It's its own thing. And I really, really wanted to play Pillars of Eternity 1 and 2 before this came out, and I failed and let everybody down. I'm sorry. Darge, Avowed, why are you looking forward to it?
I mean, it looks good. It looks good from what they're showing. The Outer Worlds, I enjoyed the Outer Worlds. I'm not like the biggest Obsidian fan, like Luke said. I'm kind of with him with Fallout. Never really, those games sort of passed me by, and that was more a testament to, oh no, you don't want to be in my group, Luke, which is just a FIFA Call of Duty player, which I was when those games were out. They just passed me by, but I did enjoy the Outer Worlds. And then it's kind of like what Luke said, like the fantasy setting, the sword play. So you might be a little bit dubious if the sword play shit, Luke, but Yeah, it looks good. And Obsidian, I like to call Obsidian like Xbox's Insomniac to a degree, right? Like everything that they've put out, even Pentiment. I know Pentiment wasn't like what everyone wanted, but it was still adored by those who sort of played and enjoyed it, right? So they kind of don't have a miss as far as the general consensus is concerned. So yeah, another game. Give me another game to look at, and we'll see what's what. But it has improved visually. Like obviously you had the realistic magic casting in the original reveal that looked really real, and then when they showed you a big segment and it was like fucking what was that game, the Rick and Morty game, Life is Strange, and it was saying like that.
High on Life.
Yeah, it was like that, and it was like what, like, and yeah, but it looks in a lot better place now. They had was it delayed? Was it meant to come out last year?
Delayed, yeah.
Pushed it back. Yeah, so
delayed a couple of times.
It's never usually a bad delay either, right? So yeah, I think it's mid-February and it's coming out. It's like 2 weeks or something like that.
Unless you buy that early access.
Fuck off.
Yeah. You can play it 3 days. Come on, Asa. You're going to get it, right?
I'm definitely not getting the early access for it because it's a statement of principle. I resent that they sell early access for 5 days. Go away. I can wait 5 days.
I bet you can't.
Well, to be fair, he's waited for Hades 2, even though that's
exactly. I can avoid. So, it's early access, even though it's a finished game. I'm stubbornly not doing that because I don't support or endorse that behavior. Darge, bitter pill for you to swallow. You're really looking forward to Avowed. You're really looking forward to Kingdom Come Deliverance. You're not going to have time to play both. What's it going to be?
Do you know what? FTW, I said that's why I'm mainlining the first game, because I want to go into 2. 2 looks really, like, from the few bits that I've seen, looks like such a significant leap. Like, I mean, Kingdom Come on the PC don't even have DLSS. Do you know what I mean? Or any of the modern day features. So and I think it's great as it is. So yeah, really excited for Kingdom Come 2. Yeah, there's too much. Like, there's just too much going on. And I've got to try and fit them all in. But I'll be. I don't know how I'm going to do it, because I need to do Kingdom Come before I touch anything else. If Avowed's a shorter experience, maybe I'll jump to that and then go back into Kingdom Come 2. I don't know, but Kingdom Come Deliverance 2 looks significantly superior to the first one, 100%. What do you two think of what you've seen of it?
I think I've actually not looked into it very much because I don't dare, because I know there's no time. I want to play the first one before touching the second one, because it's supposed to be a direct continuation of that character's story. So there's some games where you can jump into a sequel and it makes sense to jump into a sequel, and I'm sure they'll make every effort on this one to cater to people that haven't played the first, but it just feels from the outside like I should play the first one before doing the second one. So like Avowed is higher on the list for me on that basis, and Avowed is more catering to my kind of personal tastes, as it were. But those aren't the only 2 games coming out in February, so when I'm going to get to both of them is actually pretty hard to call. I'm so far behind. It's so painful. Luke.
That's me.
Is it?
Yeah.
I thought it was that other fella with a bald head.
No.
Oh.
I'm here.
Luke. That's confused me. Kingdom Come Deliverance 2. When are you going to get to it?
Yeah. When it gets dragons. As
So
soon as they come
your
into
medieval
the game.
phobia is gonna persist, and you're not going to touch this one.
No, when it gets dragons. When it gets dragons, I'll, if they see, I don't know why they haven't done like like Far Cry Blood Dragon, right? Like, why couldn't they do like Kingdom Come Deliverance?
Regular fire-breathing dragon, yeah.
Regular fire-breathing dragon edition or something. Like, why can't they take the environment and have like a little side thing that's fantasy? I think that'd be cool, because you wouldn't have to change that much in terms of the environment, but you just put some dragons in there, put like a like a wand,
You're not wrong.
some
You know how people
spells.
play Skyrim and you can mod it and you can make all the dragons Thomas the Tank Engine or whatever. They can go the other way and make all of that, like a random NPC, a barkeeper or whatever, can just be a dragon just for Luke.
Yeah, exactly. So do that, and then I'll be interested. But it does look, from what I've seen, it does look really nice. Actually, the sequel. I think they're doing all the sequel-y stuff, like bigger, better, good look, more good looking, that sort of stuff. So I'll be interested. I think the only way I would potentially play that is if that came out and people were absolutely raving about it. I mean, like en masse, like saying how good it is. I might look at it then, because they have said that although it continues, I think it's Henry, isn't it, the protagonist? Even though it continues his story from the first game, it's a good jumping in point for new players as well. Like they've tried to make it quite approachable for new players. So maybe if they do, if it comes out and it's, God's gift to gaming, then I might have a look at it.
What if it comes out and they say, this isn't actually a very good game, but it's the tool to benchmark an RTX 5090 with?
Oh, see, how to tickle me there. Like that's tantalizing. That might be a bit different then. Yeah, if they start path tracing and stuff, then we're into different consideration territory. I think then. Although I wouldn't be so vain as to buy a game just to benchmark it. I think.
Yeah, see, I do know which one's Luke. I know exactly what's going on here. Right, let's talk about another one, because there's another game coming out in February that threatens to ruin all of this stuff that I'm suffering at the moment in terms of not being able to play. I haven't played Dragon Age yet, and I haven't played Unicorn Overlord and Fantasian and Metaphor and a million other games from last year. But one game that threatens to disrupt my time a little bit more than it already is Monster Hunter. Monster Hunter Wilds. I don't like Monster Hunter games, but I've got that one pre-ordered. Why have I got that one pre-ordered? I don't know. I really want to like Monster Hunter games. And this could be the one. This could be the one that does, which is a danger, because if this is the one that does, how do I cope with a game like that sucks so much time? Are either of you either interested in previous Monster Hunters, like Monster Hunter players as it were, or give a shit about the next one?
No, I think I said before on here, I've never played Monster Hunter. I don't think I have. I think Monster Hunter World, I may have played that for about an hour. But no. But after Dragon's Dogma, Dragon's Dogma 2, rather, I'll definitely check this out. Probably when it goes into a sale, not unless everybody's screaming from the rooftops and the FOMO triggers off in me horrendously.
Every Monster Hunter game has some positive talk around it. You are going to get positive talk around it. You'd expect.
Yeah. I mean, you positive talk to a degree, but kind of what you like. But obviously, like I say, because of Dragon's Dogma 2 and that sort of thing feeds into this to a degree, that if those certain people who play Dragon's Dogma 2, i.e. yourself, FTW, if they're hyping it up, then maybe I'll go, okay. Do you know what I mean? But it's not just a general consensus. Like, people love Marvel Rivals, I'm not playing it. Because it's that stuff. But if people who I trust with their opinions and stuff are saying you will like, if you like Dragon's Dogma 2, you'll like this, then but yeah, just looking at February, man. February's busy. But Luke, you've been doing a bit of Dragon's Dogma 2.
Oh, a bit's an exaggeration. Like 35 minutes I've done. Shamefully, 35 minutes.
It's more than nothing, though, mate.
It is.
Will you be doing a bit of Wilds?
I'm quite tempted, because I'm a sort of lapsed Monster Hunter fan. So I played some of the older games, and I actually played, I can't remember which one it was, one of the ones on Wii U of all things. I played for like 100 hours, and I absolutely loved it. And that was the game that really, like when there's a franchise that you're like, I just can't get into this, I don't get it, I don't really understand, and then there's a game that just kind of triggers the understanding of it and then the enjoyment of it. That was the game. And then I picked up Monster Hunter Worlds, but I didn't really like, I don't know, just get into it that much. But this looks really good. And I'm quite tempted to go back into it again. I think probably like you, Asa, like I feel like this could be the one that gets me back into, well, not for you, not back into Monster Hunter, but for me, back into Monster Hunter. So I may well pick this up, and I suspect, as you say, Asa, it will be well received, because they always are.
Yeah, and they are. That's the thing that gets me, because the previous one, like you said about not the Wii U one, but the more recent ones, I tried to play a little bit of Monster Hunter Worlds, I think probably when it dropped into Game Pass or whatever, and didn't get on with the combat at all, really. But I tried to play, what was the other one that came out between Worlds and Wilds?
Rise.
Yeah, that's probably the one. I tried to play that.
One, Switch exclusive, wasn't it, I think, at first?
Yeah, I played it when it came to other stuff. I played it with Tony, I think, and just the tutorials were too much. I couldn't get through them, because every time it had something to tell you, you'd have like a random NPC from the town who were like, you have to press A twice to double jump. I don't even know if the game's got double jumps, but as an example, they're like, you have to press A twice to double jump. If you press it twice, you will double jump. And then after they'd said that, a tooltip would pop up on the screen saying, press A twice to double jump. And it was about absolutely everything that the game had to tell you was like this doubling up of tooltip, and it killed me before I even got to the monsters. I can't do this. There's too much. You have to whetstone your weapon, by the way, or it'll go blunt. Tooltip. You have to use a whetstone on your weapon. So hopefully this one has a more streamlined get into it experience. Replicant, thank you for the 16 months of support in there. Can you ignore Chadley and his towers in Rebirth? Do you know, I so wish that you could, and to some extent I recommend that you do, but you actually kind of can't.
The PC version, I reckon you can mod him out.
Yeah, give it a couple of weeks, and an anti-Chadley mod would make so much sense for that game, because it would work.
There's a mod already, isn't there? Or not a mod, rather, but apparently there's been issues with the PC port anyway of Rebirth, isn't there? And you have to download one of the, I can't remember the full ins and outs, but there's something you have to copy and paste from another game into that game to make it stable, because it keeps crashing. It's just ridiculous.
You always get that. Like normally, 9 times out of 10, when a game comes out on a PC with performance issues on like Unreal Engine or something, you'll get all of these fixes going around that are like, just put these settings from the ini file in and everything works perfectly. And it'll be a setting that 100% doesn't do anything. The game doesn't recognize it. It's just an Unreal Engine thing. And they just say it anyway, and everyone's like, oh, it worked for me. Fucking didn't, you liar. Every time.
Yeah, it's weird, because Replicant's just saying it's running okay, but like the problem was that it was just freezing and black screening and something, and there was like all performance stutters and fuck knows. I don't know, I haven't got it yet.
Yeah. Are you planning to?
Yeah, like we said, I enjoyed Remake. I know that Rebirth's a much longer game, so I won't be double eager to jump in anytime soon and continue that story, but I definitely will pick it up and continue it for sure, 100%.
Good game. It's a good game. Chadley aside.
And Gongaga aside, yes.
Fuck Chadley.
Yeah, and that chapter with Kit Sith as well.
Yeah, there are some things that are worth complaining about, but it is still brilliant. So let's do... I'm going to ask you two, first of all, if you have anything in particular that you want to raise before we go on to our delightful community questions and things, because I'm ready for those. But is there anything else that you wanted to bring up before we do?
No, I'm good.
Oh, just a quick one. That Bloodborne running on the, is it Shad Q or is that Replicant? Probably no, but Sony have put a cease and desist on the emulator now.
So this is an emulator that, in fact, you're going to have to clarify something for me on this, because there were two patches for this, 2 unofficial ones. One that made it work at 60 frames per second on a PlayStation, and then there's obviously the PC emulation scene as well. And I don't know which one this is, but it is a mod for Bloodborne that had been available since 2021, letting people play it somewhere at 60 frames per second in some capacity. And then now, in the year of 2025, I had to check my PC to check what year we're in right now, but 2025, Sony have just put out a cease and desist saying, can you take down all the links to that mod?
It's too late anyway. It's too late anyway because it's been put on the web. So it's every, you know.
Do you know?
But also they've put the cease and desist out, and I see might be nothing, but March is the 10-year anniversary of the game releasing. I know it's like a question that gets batted around a lot, but do you think Sony have any intention on doing anything for that 10-year anniversary?
I don't know. I hope so, but I don't think so. It's really strange because like they're sitting on an IP that could make them so much money now. I know it didn't back when it released, but Souls games, particularly from Souls games, have come on so far now in terms of commercial success and like the zeitgeist of gaming that it's become like this sort of title of reverence for Souls fans. You know, speak about it in hushed tones. You know, when we're getting like a Bloodborne remake, remaster. They must know that. They're not idiots. They're not blind to that. And they must know that, in particular, if they were to release this on PC, it would do extremely, extremely well. And so I don't know why they haven't done anything so far, because I mean, maybe it's just that they would want From or a team in From to help them do it. But, you know, why haven't they given this to Bluepoint? I know why they haven't given it to Bluepoint, because they were making a stupid fucking God of War live service. But like it just seems like Bluepoint now, like surely a good thing for them to do that would be very commercially successful is say go and make like a Bloodborne remaster or remake. They've done Demon Souls. It seems like a no-brainer.
Maybe that's the reason. Maybe that's why we've got it at this point in time. We've just decided to start.
Well,
yeah.
It's not only that, but like with the success of Elden Ring and From Software and everything, like it's just a no-brainer. Like I would think anyway to do something, do a remaster, do a remake, even greenlight a sequel or something like that. Do something, but it's like the unloved. It's weird. It's like the unloved child, but it was such a fucking hit for them. It's really weird. But yeah, like I say, I see that it was coming up to the 10-year anniversary. I don't know. Maybe Sony will just put a little sizzle reel on socials. But
even if they just said like we're making a Bloodborne remaster remake, they wouldn't even have to show anything of it. But even if they just committed to it, I think people would be
announcement.
Happy.
Oh, mate!
Like people would be like, okay, that's great. At least we know that it's coming. Like it is gonna, it's coming eventually. But it's the fact that they're just kind of silent about it and they don't want to talk about it. And but they own the IP. They can do what they want with it. Obviously, they're not going to make. I don't think they're ever going to make a sequel without From or anything like that, because it'd be extremely difficult to do that.
No way.
And it would just be exploiting the IP in a way that I don't think would be very successful. But certainly there are things you can do with that original game, whether that's just a remaster and a 60 FPS thing with a PC launch, or some more substantive visual remake a la Demon Souls. Like there are projects that could be made out of that I'm surprised that they've not committed to yet. So
it's like like when we say about things being announced and the internet being ablaze and stuff like that. Can you actually imagine if they announced like a Bloodborne remake or greenlighting a sequel, which might be fuck knows, 5 years away or something, but the fact that they've actually got From to commit to it, I mean, that would be huge. Like, but so weird. But we'll probably get nothing of the sort, and they'll just cease and desist, so no one can play this game at 60 FPS and stuff like that on the PC, and that'll be that.
I can imagine that, Darge. the creative part of my brain that handles my imagination is at least this big, and I've got that. I can see it in my mind's eye. It's weird though, because like it is such a no-brainer to do more with Bloodborne that it's been expected when the PlayStation 4 Pro came out, which is a long time ago now. It's been expected when the PlayStation 5 came out. It's been expected since the dawn of time and at every event since, and they've never done it. So whatever has been stopping them, has it cleared out the way that's made them take an interest now, or are they just suddenly feeling petty 4 years after this mod came about? I don't know the answer. I don't know the answer.
It's not the mod, it's the emulator. The recent one that's got it running on PCs at 60, and it was like so the latest version got it to run like Digital Foundry covered it and got it to run fine.
They drew it.
Well, they got the game.
Somehow.
That's the thing. That's the thing. They got the game that they've given no attention to, really, running at 60 on current, to a current standard, right? Compared to like Elden Ring and this, that, and the other. And they've come out and just gone, yeah, fucking knock that on the head. You either play it at 30 FPS on PS Now, or you don't play it at all unless you've got the old system, and it would be nice to think that they've done that to announce something, especially after, like you say, Demon Souls. Why not? Why not do it? They own the rights to it, don't they? It's not From Software at all, is it? They own the rights to that. Like you say, they could have got Blue Point to do it. They could have got, it's just fucking, it's so weird why they haven't bothered. Considering the fact that they, remastered and then remade a remaster of The Last of Us and then did it with Last of Us 2 and even fucking Horizon Zero Dawn got a remastering, you know what I mean? And they're doing all that and they just won't do it with this one that everybody like wants. Is just crazy.
Coulda, woulda, shoulda. It is all very strange. Pete, thank you very much for the super chat. I don't fully understand, so I'm going to assume you're drinking or dizzy. You suggested that I dump, or someone dumps Ewan, Skill and Panache. So,
no, I dumped both of them because they were late.
Why? Were they?
It's banter.
Hey, no, I understand, Darge. I do understand. Well, I understand that, but I don't know why Pete is dragging Craig into it. You're both continuing to be welcome. Darge, start watching your scaffold, mate, though. That is, as a roofer, surely quite threatening, right?
What scaffold?
Either way, I mean, one's definitely more threatening than the other. Right. Moving swiftly on. Thank you, Pete. That is helpful and appreciated. Thank you for anyone that supports the channel like that. That's cool.
Just quickly, Asa, Reps just put it in there. Shad PS4. That's the emulator that's just come about and that was running the game flawlessly. So that's what they've put a cease and desist out on. But then, like I said, it's already been out in the internet now. So yeah, it's weird.
I thought, though, the person that owns it, that announced that he had received the cease and desist, said that it was a project that had been available since 2021.
Oh yeah, it's been through a few versions, but it's the latest version that Digital Foundry covered that had nailed like running the game, perfectly, and it was still being updated. Like that, whoever was behind it was saying that they were still
replicant saying there. It's not the emulator that's got the cease and desist. It's the 60 frames per second patch for the PS4, which is the old one. Shad PS4 is still there doing its emulating.
I've misread something.
Patch, isn't it? Yeah, I remember that. Yeah.
That's bollocks, though, isn't it? Why are they doing that?
It's still quite weird.
It's the same topic that we've just had. I've just confused what's actually had a cease and desist, but still, why are they? Oh, it's weird.
Everything we've said still applies, basically. Sorry. Let's talk about whatever we've been asked to talk about, because we're going to move on to our community questions. So I have forgotten how to operate things. It's already here, and we've got our first question. It is the classic from Tom909. Ooh. Luke, what's not to like?
Food poisoning, scalpers,
fucking scalp.
Nvidia's supply of 5090s generally.
You don't like a lot this week.
Yeah, there's a lot.
He's had a bad one.
He's very angry this week.
Not a big fan of this week at all. Game Pass games not having full feature sets.
I actually feel the weather turning from this one. It's getting colder.
Yeah. Large clouds making their way over the channel right now. Yeah, there's a lot that's not to like at the moment.
There is. Darge, what's not to like?
What's not to like? League 2 football grounds being fully open and not having roofs. That was cold today. That's not to like. I also will throw in, one of the Holy Trinity going onto another platform. In my opinion, is something that I don't like yet. But I'm still waiting to see God of War on Xbox before the year's end. That's not to like for me. Yeah, and just the usual stuff. Gaming consumers being concerned about business strategies, stuff like that. It's not to like for me. Going bold, that's not to like. That's never going to be to like. That's probably me this week, just bold and angry.
Just this week, though. Just this week.
Well, it's every week, but I've channeled it this week.
I'm going to go with consumable microtransactions. Get extra XP for a day or whatever. I hate that kind of stuff so much. And technical difficulties with OBS and streaming. So when you do, for example, start a podcast and find that your microphone isn't selected correctly or something like that, that's not a thing that I like very much.
What about paid for 5-day early access?
Oh yeah, that's not to like. For single player
games.
Not to like. For single player games.
Yeah, there's plenty of things not to like, Tom, but there are more things to enjoy. So we'll take the positive spin at the end of it. Right, next question is up. It is Nate State Games with Forza Horizon 5 going to PlayStation and the likelihood of Halo and Gears going. Do you expect a timed exclusive window on the next titles? Forza Horizon 6, Gears E-Day, similar to Indiana Jones, or do you expect them to release day and date?
Sorry. I missed the question because I read a comment in the chat and it made me laugh. Go on.
Yeah, fair enough.
Go on, Luke.
Horizon 5 is coming out. Yeah, go on, Luke. You take it.
I'm just replying to this Sheffield United Blade slander. Shocking. Absolutely
fair
shocking.
Enough.
I'll go on.
No. Do I expect time exclusive next window? Yeah. I think it will still. I think Gears E-Day and the like will still be timed exclusive, but I think the window will get very short in terms of going to PlayStation, particularly if the remaster stuff is true and those are successful. I mean, they've got flexibility there, Microsoft, because they can kind of just wait and see to some extent. I'm sure they already have versions of these games being spun up on PlayStation. It would make much more sense for them to do so because they're already, these studios are actively developing these games as it is. So why not have these versions ready to go when they want them? I still think they'll have a window with that stuff. That's unless they really, the remaster stuff is true and it really takes off, in which case they might not have a window.
It's one of those things. It doesn't need to be a universal answer for every game, and it would be silly if it was, if they didn't play it case by case. But they're going to look at Indiana Jones is an interesting case study for them because it's got quite a short window. It's quite a big game. It's a recognized IP, and they've put it back a certain number of months. They'll have their estimations on what it would have sold if they released it day and date. They've got their estimations for what it will sell if they do delay it as they have. This will be the proof to see how close their estimations were. It's the other stat that came out when they were talking about whatever sales data determined that Microsoft were the biggest publisher or whatever. The other interesting little thing to come out of it was that 64% of their Call of Duty revenue or whatever came from the PlayStation platform, which is wildly high. It's a lot higher than I expected, if true. And I don't know. I don't check my sources because I don't care about percentages and sales numbers enough to do that. But if that is to be believed, then it really becomes the critical question is how much does that diminish by delaying the game on those platforms? Because we know the advantages of delaying it. We know the advantages of promoting their platform and saying this is where you want to play, this is where you get them first. But how much does it hurt to delay? Does that number diminish significantly? Do less people on the PlayStation platform take an interest if they don't hit that marketing zeitgeist of a day one release? And they're going to have those numbers, and they're going to make those decisions based on those numbers, not based on how angry people are on Twitter, really. So we'll see. What's happened? Darge just disappeared, and I'm panicking. I can't remember what to press.
It's back. It's back. It just flickered out. It's weird. Sorry.
What's just, not to like?
Just on that topic.
Addendum. Darge dropping out of Discord mid podcast. Carry on.
I didn't drop out. The camera just fucking went off. It just flicked off. I don't know. Yeah, I mean, they've ripped the Band-Aid off, so to speak, now, haven't they? So all cards are off the table as far as Xbox is concerned now. So if you're on the PlayStation side, the chances are like Forza and those are going over, then nothing is off the table. So it's it's weird. Yeah, it's going to make them a lot of money, but what damage is it going to do to their own hardware and stuff like that? It's not going to push that. I know they say, like, obviously it's down, and effectively, like, this sort of move, it's not going to go up again. I can't say, not unless they really innovate in the next generation and they have something completely, outside the box that blows Sony away. And when you say there about the surprise around Call of Duty and stuff like that, it isn't really a surprise anymore, because people are invested in these platforms digitally, and once they're locked in, they're going to stay there, aren't they? So if Xbox are going to keep sending games over, like Rep saying there, he reckons Gears Collection will be day one, stuff like that, why are you leaving PlayStation? What are you leaving them for? Game Pass is the only thing now for an Xbox, as far as I'm concerned. And if you've got hundreds of pounds worth of investment on the PlayStation, which is the platform leader in hardware, why are you leaving them? But that's me. I'm a fanboy.
Oh no! Right, let's have the next one. It's here. Just found out our local library has the Xbox adaptive controllers available to check out. They also have expansive games to rent on all platforms. The libraries in your countries have video games. Tony, what country are you in? That's awesome that they have the adaptive controller, because making that thing available to people that can use it. I mean, the whole existence of that thing is good for that purpose. And it's kind of, I don't know if I like that they have video games to rent. It's nice to see video games recognized as valid literature. I guess they are and should be and do belong in that environment. Yeah, I guess that's nice. No, the libraries in my country, as far as I'm aware, and I can't say I've been to one recently, as far as I'm aware, do not embrace the video games in that way. Luke, video games in libraries, do they belong?
Yeah. I think so. I mean, if you broaden the idea of a library beyond...
Can you get music in a library?
You can.
You can. I think in some. Yeah. I don't know. I haven't been to a library for about 14 years. So I don't know what... I don't know what the libraries of today are really doing. I'm not in the library zeitgeist. So... but they should have video games. I think that's pretty cool that library does have games that you can rent. Like, that's quite different. So I'd be more interested in going to it if we had video games.
Yeah, as long as physical media survives and they can keep doing it. But yeah, neat. What about you, Darge? Any thoughts on that?
I mean, I haven't been to the library for many a moon. But I can confirm they do music. One of the first CDs I ever got from the library was Music for the Jilted Generation by The Prodigy. It's a fantastic album. I was quite a wild 11-year-old. But yeah, no, video games, I mean, like, even though I haven't been to a library for a long time, I'm pretty sure the purpose of the library was to go and learn and educate. So, I mean, yeah, video games, sure, put them in there.
It's weird because I know in the States at the moment there is like libraries are under threat there to some degree in terms of what can and can't be in there. So I don't want to seem completely like naive to what's going on and why people. You see it around social media at the moment. There's a movement to try and protect libraries. Libraries here aren't under threat in that way. There's some monetary issues around them, but people aren't trying to take away certain types of literature or anything like that. So it's not ignorance to what's happening over there as such, but at the same time, it's very much ignorance to what's happening over there because it's far away. It's far away, and I don't really understand all that. Art libraries are fine, and it would be cool if they have games. It would be nice to see them preserved as a legitimate art form and form of literature and literacy and all the rest of it. So, yeah, cool, nice. Next one, it's already there. MJ, what games do you actually like playing? If you don't like Monster Hunter, then I can't see you liking Wilds. Why have you not started Metaphor? I feel like I'm being attacked at the moment. MJ, I like playing all of the games that aren't 12 minutes. Okay?
Good.
Yeah. And it's not a case of not liking things. It's a case of prioritizing the limited time that I have. I would play all of the games if I could play all of the games to see what they're like. And it's weird, like, I don't like to be kind of falsely positive and pretend that every game is fun and brilliant, because it's reasonable to not like some things. Everyone's got their taste and preference, right? And even if I don't like them, I respect usually the effort that has gone into them. Exclusion 12 minutes. Sorry, 12 minutes developers. I hate what you did there. I haven't started Metaphor because I haven't had time to start Metaphor, and I still really hope that I like Monster Hunter. Luke, why do you hate games? Why haven't you played Metaphor?
Because I don't have that amount of time in my life. That time commitment is not something I can do. I could play 5 hours of that, which I did for the demo. Really enjoyed it. I think that'll be me for a while until I have like when I have a sabbatical one day. I'll go and tackle Metaphor as part of that. Too long. Well, it's not too long. It's just I don't have the time.
Yeah, Darge.
Yes, sir.
Why haven't you played every game?
Well, as I said, I've probably had about 3 hours of game time this week. I'm not a great gamer, usually, but I'm a great personality. That's what I like to tell myself. So, yeah, I can't play all the games. Yeah, Metaphor's a weird one, isn't it? I heard good things about it, but it just don't do much for me, to give it a bang. I've got Yakuza. I'm willing to give them a go. Now, that's another game that's coming out this month. But yeah, Metaphor, I don't think it'll be for me.
Sorry. I reckon I really like it. Like, it is quite high on my list. It's not even my highest 2024 JRPG to get to, but it's quite high on my list. I would like to have played it, and I apologize, MJ. I'm sorry I've let you down. But that is me. It's what I do. Let's have the next question, if there are any more, please. Yeah. That was it. That was all of the questions for today, which is beautiful. Thank you, everyone, for being here, for giving us questions, giving us comments, or even if you're just relaxing with your feet up, listening or watching after the fact while you're sitting at work or whatever else it may be. It's cool that you give us your time. So thank you very much. I think we're rounding up. Episode 13, you did not put a question in, or it would have appeared. You incompetent buffoon. I'm sorry. I don't know why I said that. I'm sure you did. Thank you for trying. Luke.
Maybe.
Say some things. Tell people what you're up to.
Well, I'm back on solid food now after last week, so I'm pretty happy about that. But apart from that, if you want to see pictures of solid food and or games and other stuff, then follow me on Twitter /Blue Sky.
Yes, do that. I'd also come in the Discord because you get pictures of coffee in there as well.
Yeah.
He's an artist. He's properly doing the leaves and the swans and the, I don't know, penises.
Yeah, but the penis is the high end stuff. So we'll get into that.
Yeah, thank you, Luke. Darge.
Yes, sir.
You say some stuff.
Yeah. Thanks everyone for sitting and listening to us, and your support in general. If you're new, contemplate joining Discords where we discuss all varying topics all day long. Yeah, and thanks for having me again for another week. I've had to put my flat cap on because replicants told me it's the cure to boldness. And yeah, you can find me on Twitter and Blue Sky, Darge Knight. I don't even know. Blue Sky is fucking mad, the handle on there, but yeah, I'm on social media and stuff. So yeah, look forward to seeing you next week.
Brilliant. I also love social media. You can find me around there. I don't actually love social media very much, but you can find me on it. I much prefer talking to people that I know through all of this stuff rather than yelling into the wind trying to get attention from strangers. So if you are on social media, do follow me on there, interact with me on there. It's more fun that way. But most of all, if you want to talk to us, we're in the Discord, which is very entertaining. It's more accessible now. You don't need to be a member to get to all of the good stuff. You can come and talk to us in there. And there's a nice constant flow of conversation about games and other things. So please do. In the meantime, tomorrow there's a little channel clip thing coming on tomorrow showing some of the fun we've been having in January. But besides that, next week we've got a split stream on Tuesday and Thursday, community games on Friday, and we'll be back at the round table on Saturday. So we'll see you then.